Okay, it's time for you to unlock your true potential. And the way to do that is to build your self-confidence. Join me as I share some tips and strategies on how to build that confidence of yours so you can live the life that you love. Okay, so what is self-esteem? In a nutshell, self-esteem is the value that we have of ourselves. High self-esteem can help build your confidence. Low self-esteem can do exactly the opposite. Today, you're going to learn a little bit more about that, confidence, and how the two are intertwined. So what are the things that can affect our self-esteem? There's things like the success or failures that we've had in life, our upbringing, our physical appearance or how we perceive ourselves. You can also have things like friends and family, which, surprisingly enough, can help build your self-esteem, but they can also have a negative impact on it as well. If you think you have low self-esteem, or put it this way, think about somebody else, not you, but somebody that you know that you think has low self-esteem. They probably exhibit some of these behaviors. They're constantly looking for validation from other people. When you hear them talk about themselves, it's often in a negative way. What you find is that they're constantly comparing themselves to other people as well, and that seems to be a big one. Not only that, but they exaggerate failures. They don't talk so much about the successes they've had, they exaggerate the failures that they've had, and also they really struggle to take a compliment on board. That person is showing all the signs of having negative self-esteem. One of the big ones that I've noticed as a coach is that they often won't take on challenges for fear of failure. Now that fear of failure can be crippling in terms of helping that person improve themselves or the situation that they're in. When people ask me why self-esteem is important, I help them understand it's because that's the value that they're placing on themselves. If you have a high level of self-esteem, you believe that you're more likely to be successful in a situation or comfortable in a situation, and the reverse applies as well. If you don't have a high level of self-esteem, you're more likely to doubt your ability to be successful in a situation. Now, when you have that low self-esteem, as you can imagine, it is a magnet for emotions like self-doubt, stress, anxiety, depression. None of those things are the kind of emotions and behaviors that we want to be experiencing. So that highlights the importance of having a high level of self-esteem and also understanding how to build your self-esteem. Okay, so here's the first cab off the rank if you're looking at building up your self-esteem. You need to understand self-care. Now, I used to use the phrase self-love, but it obviously has some kind of those other connotations set aside against it. So let's use the phrase self-care. Now, a lot of people don't like hearing that phrase, or they're scared of the phrase, or they just have an unknown element to it. But essentially, self-care is just looking after yourself. Getting good sleep, exercise, rest, eating well. You know, don't get me wrong, I love having a good time with my friends, but I'm also conscious about the amount of alcohol that we might consume because those kind of things can have a toll on you. So prioritizing self-care is one of the key things that you can do to help set a foundation for you to build up your self-esteem. Another way to build up your self-esteem is to really focus on your strengths. Now, if you take what's called a strengths-based approach, then you identify the things that you're good at and operate off those. Nobody's good at everything. Nobody needs to be good at everything. But if you know something that you're good at, you can start to use that to build up your confidence that, yeah, you can achieve things. All you need to do is take something that you're good at, and within that task, within that action, you'll find that part of that is going to be useful somewhere else. An example might be, I'm good at making breakfast. I know the process I need to follow. I know the timelines that I can operate against. I do that enough times, and my confidence in making breakfast is at an all-time high. Now, because I can follow a process for making breakfast, it also means that technically I should be able to follow a recipe. If I start to follow basic recipes and cooking off those, that will build my confidence and my self-esteem that I can take on more challenging recipes. And before you know it, I've gone from burning pasta in a pot to making a wonderful fettuccine that the family absolutely loves. So, focus on your strengths. Here's another tip to build up your self-esteem. Surround yourself with positivity. Positivity is something that you don't always have to have, but it certainly helps. When you're surrounded by positive people, you can't help but feel more positive. It's contagious, right? You know it's contagious because the flip side works as well. When you have a negative person in your life, they start to drag you down. They're constantly talking about things in a negative way, and it's really hard to break free from that. I love being around positive people. I'm a positive person myself. Ducks fly with other ducks, as they say. What I find is that by surrounding myself with positive people, when I'm getting to those tough times in life, they can help get me over those humps. Surrounding yourself with positive people, self-affirmations, positive people, that kind of thing, is a really powerful way of building up your self-esteem. Stop comparing yourself to others. This is a key one, and unfortunately, a lot of the behaviors that we have contribute to this. Anybody ever looked at social media recently? I have. And I'm constantly looking at the highlight reels that people are putting out there and comparing it to my life bloopers. This is not a good way to build up my self-esteem. So I manage very carefully the content that I'm consuming. I also have to recognize that what I'm seeing on social media is the top 1% of the top 1% of somebody's week. I'm not seeing all the times that they're shouting at their kids or having a debate with their spouse or their partner, or they've forgotten to bring their card to the supermarket, or all manner of things that just don't go well in their lives. Instead, what I am finding myself doing is I'm comparing my success against their success, and their success with 1 million followers makes mine pale in comparison. That is one reason why we need to stop comparing ourselves to others. The journey that you are on is your journey alone, and it's unique to you and no one else. So enjoy that. All right, remember, stop comparing yourself to others. Here's another way that you can build up your self-esteem and your confidence. Avoid negative self-talk, or, as I like to put it, flex your positive self-talk muscle. Now, I do this every day, and I do this a lot of times every day as well, and it's an incredibly powerful tool in my toolbox. A lot of people find it difficult to say something positive about themselves. So try this. Start with the phrase, I am. Now, what I like to do is I say, I am good at making breakfast. I am comfortable in my own skin. I am good at speaking in public. I am good at putting my shoes on the right feet. Whatever the thing might be, say it often, say it loud, and say it proud. You will find 1 million different ways of having negative self-talk, but if you are constantly flexing that positive self-talk muscle, just like any other muscle, it will get stronger and stronger. And the more familiarity you have with using that muscle, the more confident you'll get with using it. All right. More positive self-talk. Put more of that in your diet. Okay, here's another one. Set achievable goals. Now, it's really cool to have a goal of taking over the world or launching a shuttle into space, but you can scale your goals right back into something that you can achieve today or in the next hour. Now, the reason why this is so important is that when you succeed in achieving that goal, you are reinforcing in yourself the awareness that you can be successful. Achieving those goals, no matter how small, continually reinforces in your mind that you have the ability and capacity and the knowledge and the skills to be successful. That muscle, that confidence will continue to grow. And as I mentioned before, familiarity with success breeds more success. That's why they have that saying, right? Success breeds success. Who knew? So just think about that. Set yourself goals, make them smart, measurable, achievable, realistic, or at least relevant, and make them time-bound. Set those within your day, and you will find that each time you achieve those and you recognize that achievement, it will build your confidence. All right, set achievable goals. That's a nice way of building up your self-esteem and your confidence. Another way you can build up your self-esteem and confidence is to surround yourself with the right role models. Now, sometimes, although it's helpful looking at these really, really successful people in life, it also gives a sense of being unachievable because they're just so different to me. They're so different to who I am. Instead, I surround myself with people who are like me. And when they achieve a success in a particular situation or task, then I can measure and I can see, oh, okay, that person's just like me and this is how they've managed to do that. I can learn off that. So you can actually build up your self-esteem and confidence by recognizing that if somebody's just like you and they've managed to achieve something in a particular field, then there's a lot of the aspects of what they've done that you can copy and also enjoy that level of success. Okay, here's a really big one in terms of building up your self-esteem and your confidence. It's called mastery of experiences. Mastery of experiences. Now, success really does shape the way in that we view ourselves. One way that you could influence this is to be successful in a field, an action, a topic, whatever it might be. The more successful you are, the more your perception of yourself of being successful continues to grow. The negative can happen as well. Let's say you continue to fail at a task. That is going to bring down your view of yourself, your view of self-esteem. That is going to drag your confidence down. So, by mastering an experience and being able to do that repeatedly, you're going to be telling yourself that yes, I am capable of being successful. And what happens is that you start to branch out from that task and you start to believe and have the perception that you can be successful in other areas as well. That's incredibly potent because that's going to allow you to grow and stretch into areas that you may not have wanted to go into had you been unsuccessful in the first instance. Mastery of experiences is one of the key ways that you can build your self-esteem and your confidence. Okay, here's another one that very few people understand or realize, is that your confidence can be weaponized. It's weaponized against you and you can weaponize it to your advantage. Here's an example of where your confidence is weaponized against you. If you enter a meeting and you look all timid and shy, then you can guarantee that the alpha personalities in that meeting are going to spot that and they're going to play on that. We've all seen that happen. Conversely, if you go into an environment and you're upright, you're speaking clearly, you're projecting confidence, even if you don't feel confident, then what happens is people start to behave differently towards you. When they view you as a confident person, they are more likely to accept what you're saying and why you say it. So just remember, when you're thinking about confidence, confidence is a weapon. Understand how it's being used against you and how you can use it to your advantage. You know, there was a time when I had really low self-esteem and confidence. I felt like I was incapable of doing the most basic tasks. I hated going to work, which is where my confidence was getting shattered, and I really struggled to understand what my value was. The approach that I took was a strategic one. I didn't just try and magic my way out of it. I took the time to understand what's going wrong, but more, what are the things that I can do to continue building up my confidence? I went from a person who was absolutely shattered. I was a broken person. I hated going to work. I was being bullied at work by my boss. I hated the workload that I was having to deal with, which was just completely oppressive, but I just didn't know how to get myself out of it. Like I said, I took the time and I implemented a lot of the tips and strategies that I've just shared with you. So that's how I know these things work. Another thing that I did was I actually took the time to nerd out on this. And I looked at the writings and the research of a guy named Albert Bandura. Now, Albert Bandura talks about a concept called self-efficacy. Your self-esteem and self-confidence sit within this umbrella term of self-efficacy, which is, in a nutshell, in an over-distilled understanding, it's how you perceive your ability to be successful in a task, irrespective of what that task is. Now, when I took that approach, that changed everything, and I refound the person that I knew I was. This stuff that I've shared with you, it works, and I know it works. I know it works because I did it for myself, and I've coached other people into taking big strides in their career and their relationships. All right, I look forward to hearing how you go with it as well. Okay, now remember, building up your self-esteem and your confidence is a journey, and it can take a little bit of time. But just by implementing one or two of those tips, you're going to find that it will happen, and inevitably, your confidence and value of yourself are going to grow. When this happens, I love to hear more about it. I can't wait for you to share it. But in the meantime, please remember to click follow, subscribe, and share this episode, share this YouTube channel with anybody that you think would benefit from increasing their self-confidence and their self-esteem.